Here we are, kids. Here we go. It's just after high noon. May I be the first to say a good afternoon to you. It's 12:05 to be precise. My name is Matt Murphy. We host a gathering we call the Matt Murphy Radio Show on Supertalk 99.7 WTN. We can be found on a variety of platforms. It is officially Valentine's Day Eve. I like to remind you of these precursors to big days in your life as a reminder that I don't mind, generally speaking, the Eve nomenclature. I do hate it when it comes up on a
Friday Eve all day long on the Matt Murphy Show.
And it's 52 of them. 52 of them over the course of a year, but only one Valentine's Day Eve. And today's that day, so all of you miserable leches that plan on being in line at the Publix or the Kroger or the Winn-Dixie, are there Winn-Dixies in Tennessee?
Not here, no.
Oh, well. You know what I'm talking about, though. One way or the other, let's get a little advance notice of the fact that tomorrow's Valentine's Day. How about it? We've got lots to do today, and I hope that you participate in every moment of the show. 3 full hours, 180 minutes of talk radio excellence, or at least that's what we hope it is, before we hand off the baton to Brian Wilson and The Drive on Supertalk 99.7 WTN. There are many ways that you can listen and watch the television show or the radio show, as it were, and we'll tell you about those now, get the pleasantries out of the way, get things lumbering under its own weight, and ask you about your Ukraine money. That's coming up in just a moment. It is episode 510 of our proceedings here today. You can find us on 99.7 FM on the radio dial. You can also find us on any internet streaming platform of your choosing, wherever you choose to stream news or information or music, whatever. Type in Supertalk 99.7 WTN, and you can take us wherever you go. And then, of course, there's Supertalk TV, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, up and running. The F&M Bank chat line is also up and running. You're welcome to be a part of the conversation there. And you can also see why I'm on the radio. Bell K chooses not to participate in the television side of things, which is why we call him Headless Bell. But he does title them, and episode 510 is entitled
Matt Murphy Show, not a Twitter suspension to be found. The man has no game.
How many times have you been suspended on Twitter?
Well, according to you, it's 27, which is a lie. I think it's only 24.
I mean, it's a lot. I mean, you're in double digits, legit double digits, aren't you? What do you do to get suspended? I mean, it's not like I'm holding my tongue on Twitter. What are you doing to get suspended on Twitter 10 times?
I routinely, harshly cyberbully politicians, which they deserve.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't. Do you have to get reported?
Yes.
So someone has to report you as being harassing in order for you to get suspended at this point.
Correct.
Oh, well, then maybe I'm not doing my job. I don't know. I thought I was doing a pretty good job.
I can report you if you want me to.
No. Okay. I'd like for it to be organic. I'd like for it to be organic. I would have thought that, somebody like a Representative Justin Jones would have reported me by now for repeatedly reminding people that he has been credibly alleged of covering up sexual assault in the summer of 2020 outside of the Tennessee Capitol, and no one will ask him about it in media.
You want to know how much more game I have than you do?
How's that?
Justin Jones, Phil Williams, both blocked me.
You're blocked?
By both of them.
Yeah, and the Supreme Court is set to decide it with a certain degree of finality, but Justin Jones is not abiding by what is current legal precedent with regard to blocking people on his official social media accounts. Now, Phil Williams, he's just a schmuck. And
he's a private citizen. So.
And, so he can block whomever he wants. But any lawmaker utilizing social media in an official capacity, you are not allowed to block individuals. You can mute whomever you want. You're not allowed to block people. Now, the final word will come from the United States Supreme Court, and that's to come a little bit later on. The expectation is they're going to say what I just told you, that you can't block people on social media, but you can mute them if they become harassing to you. And I guess they could carve out certain exceptions that if the individual in question is utilizing a harassing tone or perhaps they're actually threatening individuals, then that would cross a line in the sand that would create a dynamic by which you could block them, but otherwise you cannot. Anyway, I'll try to do better on social media. You can find me on the social media platforms at Matt Murphy Show. I'm really primarily on the X machine. You can find me on the others. I have an Instagram account. I rarely go there. At one time, I had a TikTok account. The Chinese have taken that over. And, of course, I'm on Facebook. For you older generational folks out there in the listening audience, there's a Facebook account for you, Matt Murphy or Matt Murphy Show. On both of those, in the aftermath of the Super Bowl, I put "Way to go, chefs," which I thought was very funny.
It is.
And half of the audience thought it was funny as well, and half of the audience is like, who are the chefs? Why did you say chefs? You misspelled that. And I'm like, come on, man. Do I have to explain everything to everybody?
It's a Snickers commercial, people. Come on, wake up.
Great googly
With
moogly.
Andy Reid in it.
Yeah, right. I mean, that's the whole point. Great googly moogly. He says, who are the chefs?
Yeah. Then he says great googly moogly, which is not where I got that. I think he stole that from me.
There was somebody who said it. Back in the day, like 1970s television, I want to say. I don't know that it was a catchphrase, but
it sounded to me like a laugh-in word.
Oh, yeah. Rowan and Martin kind of thing. Yeah. Great googly moogly. I think my grandpa used to say it, too.
Or maybe Carol Burnett used it.
Maybe. Yeah, she'd tug on that ear every once in a while. All right, so everybody got their Ukraine money? That's where we're starting the show today. Does everybody have their Ukraine money yet? Because apparently we're giving out free money. And I would hope that everyone would have their Ukraine money by now. Have you checked your bank account? Ukraine money all around, guys. No? You don't have your Ukraine money? Well, the Senate passed the bill. Oh, I guess the House has to pass it for. Oh, that's right. Okay, fine. The House has to get to it, and then the president will sign it, and then everybody gets free money from the government. I'm going to try to maintain a semblance of composure. And I know, for you regulars out there, you're wondering, well, why start now? I get it. I'm going to try, because nothing infuriates me more than this subject of how our so-called conservative elected leaders just spend money hand over fist. I've been saying for in excess of 20 years now, and I've been on the radio for almost a quarter century. That's by the way, I'm squirreling myself. Statman, you're exactly right. It was Fred Sanford or great. It was on Sanford and Son, which I loved. And if you want to know, I talk about my grandpa a lot. If you want to know what my grandfather was like, go watch Sanford and Son. Fred Sanford is a black version of my grandfather. The way he walks, the way he talks, the suspenders he wears, black version of my grandfather. Anyway. Grady used to say good googly moogly on Sanford and Son. It wasn't great googly moogly. Good googly moogly. Yes. Thank you, Statman. Back to me being furious. I'm going to try to keep my emotions out of this. I don't know if I'm going to be able to do so. For a long time, if I say anything that you remember for any length of time on this radio show, remember this. There are no, or very, very few conservatives in Washington, D.C. There are no, or very, very few individuals in positions of authority or power with any physical discipline whatsoever. That's physical. There's two syllables, not physical, physical. Today's Republicans are yesterday's Democrats. And today's Democrats are yesterday's socialists. And so that leaves us from a political party standpoint wondering, where are the Republicans? They don't exist anymore. They don't exist. Now, I understand that we can point to several in Washington, D.C., heroes of conservatism, like a Mike Lee or a Ted Cruz or certainly a Rand Paul. I would call Rand Paul a hero of libertarianism more so than conservatism, but be that as it may. There are two existential threats facing the United States of America from a political standpoint. I understand a lot of cultural things are going on, and I understand that those seem very serious in real time as we experience them. But by existential threat, by definition, something that threatens the existence of something, right? What threatens our existence as a nation? As a nation as we understand it. As a cohesive collection of 50 states. What threatens the dissolving of that union? What threatens more than anything else groups of people deciding for themselves that they're going to take it upon themselves to try to remove themselves from said union? What is going to create a dynamic by which we become a country that we no longer recognize, or what will completely implode or explode, depending on your point of view, the nation from within or from an exterior standpoint? Now, there are some that have chided me that China presents an existential threat, and I don't include China in my analysis right now. And I see a lot of you on the super text line. I'm looking at the super text line out of the corner of my eye, and I see a lot of suggestions, and a lot of these suggestions are pretty good. But here's my analysis. There is an immediate existential threat to the United States of America, and there is a longer-term existential threat, in my opinion. The immediate existential threat is our refusal to recognize our own borders and enforce them. A nation without border enforcement ceases to be a nation. A nation without border enforcement ceases to be a nation. It's just land. Conquerable land. Someone explain to me why I'm wrong. I'd love to hear that. I'd love to hear that. How is it that we can continue to function as a nation when you allow anyone and everyone to come into your quote-unquote borders and do as they desire? Whether it's roving moped gangs of people in New York City, lawlessness, to the point they've learned that all they have to do is do the deed and beat up some cops, and they'll get out on cashless bail, and they can flip off the reporters assembled in front of them, and by extension, flip off the entire country. And then off they go to California or wherever. Have we caught those guys yet? Not to my knowledge. Border security, not immigration policy. And one of the greatest lies being told to the American people right now is how those two things are one and the same. They're not. I'm happy to have any conversation about a change in immigration policy that you want to have after you shut down and secure the border. And I am amazed and sickened with the amount of people that are willing to accept this premise that we can't do it. To hell with that. Can you imagine a moment in American history, a pivotal moment in American history, where the powers that be gathered together around the proverbial table of understanding and brainstorming, and they just decided we can't do it? Hey, there's a lot of Nazism going on in Europe, and we've been loath to get into all of this, but we kind of need to take that continent back to the spirit of freedom and liberty. So we've got this plan in place that we call, what was it called? Operation Overlord. We got this
D-Day.
We got this plan in place where during Operation Overlord, we're going to ship tens of thousands of munitions and hundreds of thousands of human beings. We're going to land them on the continent of Europe. We're going to retake the continent. We can't do that. We can't do that. Oh, well. I guess Hitler wins. I mean, there's nonsense about not being able to secure the southern border. It's just ridiculous. It's just absurd. We can do anything we set our minds to do. The Democrats won't allow it, and they have enough stupid people voting in this country that give them the gravitas needed to prevent action on this issue. So that's number one. Southern border, I believe, is particularly southern border, but borders generally, is the greatest short-term existential threat that we face as a nation in the United States of America. And the greatest long-term threat, and by far the greatest threat that we face, is overspending in Washington, D.C. And by extension, what comes of it. And there's no end. There's no end in sight. No one is willing to stand up and tell the United States of America that we can't have ice cream and cake every meal, that we have to eat our peas. No one in the United States of America with any force of will can get elected on that premise anymore. You can't get elected anymore telling people that they can't have free money. Because everybody's got something. Everybody's got something. And it's all ridiculously fake money. All of it. The Republicans have something. The so-called conservatives got something. The Democrats, they're ready to spend your money and his money and their money and future money and grandkids' money. They'll spend anything and everything you get around them. Our country's going to cease to exist, folks. Oh, but Ukraine will be around. That's great. That's great. The Senate of the United States of America last night voted to spend 1/10 of $1 trillion on foreign countries. $1/10 of $1 trillion on places you've never been. 1/10 of $1 trillion of money we don't have. And in the time that it has taken me to explain this, illegal aliens have killed Americans. In the time since I got on air on this February 13th, in the 20 minutes that I've been on this radio show, potential terrorists have walked across the southern border. And they're spending 1/10 of $1 trillion for nothing. It's a load of garbage. I don't know why I talk politics anymore. Just to get you riled up, to get you angry. Why do we even do this? Why does Super Talk 99.7 WTN exist? Now, we believe in the free market and capitalism. We want to earn a buck or two, sure. We want to advise you about our wonderful advertisers, and I'll be doing that all day. But from a content perspective, my goodness, it feels like we're losing.
Well, if it wasn't for outlets like ours, the slide would be a lot faster.
I suppose. I just get beside myself. I have not lost hope yet, but it's coming. 615-737-9986 if you want to comment. It's 24 after the hour. American Heart Awareness Month, easy for me to say, is right now. February is American Heart Month. It reminds us of the staggering stat, and it's a dangerous one, that heart disease kills more than anything else in the United States of America. It caused 1 in every 5 deaths in the United States in 2021, and sadly, many of those were preventable. It highlights that critical importance, I should say, of heart health awareness. It is also the month for lovers, in as much as February is Valentine's Day month. And so with that in mind, Kraft Body Scan is offering a very special. Right now, a value of almost $3,000. I'm not over-exaggerating. You can talk to Kraft Body Scan about this when you make the call. A value of almost $3,000 can be yours for $99. I'm serious, folks. You need to take advantage of this. It is a heart and lung scan with Kraft Body Scan and their team of experts here in Nashville. It's an amazing deal. They want to get couples in to check that heart out, to check those lungs out. Lung cancer is a very important issue in America as well as heart disease, and this is a unique opportunity to take a vital step in preventative care. Find out what's going on in your body, whether you have symptoms or not. Early detection is key. I want you to go ahead and make this call that so many others have made and schedule your appointment at Kraft Body Scan. Go online to craftbodyscan.com if you want to find out more info, or better yet, just make the call. 615-436-1000. Tell them Murphy sent you. 615-436-1000. For Kraft Body Scan. Hey, friends, it's Matt Murphy. I want to tell you about a wonderful podcast that I came to know several years ago. It's the Mill Creek View, Tennessee podcast with my man, Steve Abramowitz. Matter of fact, I make regular appearances on the Mill Creek View podcast. Tomorrow night, I'm on Mill Creek View for Murphy's Law. That's what Steve called it. I didn't call it that. But Murphy's Law is making another appearance tomorrow afternoon about 4 o'clock. I don't know when it goes up. Steve does. But I know this. You need to go over to mcview.us. That's MC, stands for Mill Creek, view.us, and check out more on the website. They've got all kind of news and information over there. I go on a regular basis. Steve is the editor-in-chief of the Mill Creek View newspaper, and also the podcast page is right there up and running. Artists and authors, cultural touchstones, entertainment figures, sports figures, and yes, they talk about a lot of politics, both local here in our community, statewide, and national and international politics. Frequently the number one show on politics on Podomatic. They're found on Deezer, iTunes, iHeart, Spotify, all of your favorite podcast apps. It's the Mill Creek View, Tennessee podcast. Go to mcview.us. Super Talk 99.7 WTN, Matt Murphy and you. Look, I'm keeping my chin up. I'm not going to go through moments of despair like I did several weeks ago regarding this country. I do go through those waves of emotion. You understand that, and we're a part of one big happy family, right? And so we've just got to make it through. But last evening, at least 22 Republican senators, at least 22 of them, I don't know how many others voted no but really believed yes, I don't know. But at least 22 senators worked feverishly into the night to make sure that 1/10 of $1 trillion would be spent on foreign governments in places that you've never been for purposes of their own making. And I don't know what you're going to see from it. I just don't. Tracy will get to you out of Lebanon in just a moment. I want you to stay right there. If you have a thought or a comment, you can super text us, 615-737-9986. Many of you already have, 615-737-9986. You can also give us a telephone call. We'd love to hear from you. So, 96 billion, hard to even fathom, and change, going to foreign governments, 60 billion of that going to Ukraine. So one would expect that we would get something for that money. What are we getting for that money? I want to explore that. Because if we are to consider the other's side on this, because we're told if we don't do this, we're toast as a world, which is just, it's such a garbage, insulting argument, but we'll entertain it. If we don't spend this $60 billion that we don't actually have, if we don't print fake money to hand that fake money to Vladimir Zelensky, we are toast. That's our national interest, we're told.
Why does it always fall on our shoulders to pay the debt? How come the EU's not shouldering
Makes zero sense to me. This will amount to roughly, I've seen estimates somewhere in the neighborhood of $165 to $200 billion that we have sent to Ukraine. And it hasn't worked yet. They're losing. Here's my thing. They're lying to you. They know where all of this goes. For me, do one of the other. You're half pregnant right now. Either get out and stop wasting money that we don't actually have, or go all in and admit that you want to spill American blood. You want troops on the ground getting shot at in Ukraine. You can have it one way or the other. Right now, we're half pregnant. It's 12:33 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. In this month of February, the Glock store has an incredible deal that they are working on right now, and I want you to be aware of it now. Valentine's Day is tomorrow, and some of you might believe that this special that I'm about to tell you about will expire after tomorrow. Not so at the world-famous Glock store. Right now, if you go over to shoot270.com and you sign up for a private shooting session with an experienced trainer in one of their shooting rooms. They don't do lanes, they do rooms. In one of their rooms, you sign up for 2 and you pay for 1. That's the deal, right? You go in, you go to shoot270.com, you type it in, you want some training with a personal trainer, you sign up for 2, and you will pay for 1. It is their couples special at the world-famous Glock store for this month of lovers. Valentine's Day month. That's right. The world-famous Glock store is available for you. They have the incredible shooting rooms, which really changes the way that you train. They also have the incredible personal trainers that can help assist you to take it to the next level. If you've never handled a gun in your life, or if you're an experienced marksman and you want to go up a notch and take it to the next level, you can do so at the world-famous Glock store. Plus, I mean, obviously, their retail side of things, they've got accessories, they've got clothing. I talk all the time about the concealed carry underpants, and they have Glocks galore, plus other short guns, other long guns available at the Glock store. Go to glockstore.com or shoot270.com and be sure to tell them Matt Murphy sent you to the one and only world-famous Glock store. Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Matt Murphy. We host a gathering from noon until 3. We call it the Matt Murphy Show. This is the Libertarian Lunch from noon until 1 o'clock, and we continue after that. We'd love to hear from you, 615-737-9986, 615-737-WWTN, either via the phone lines or, of course, the Super Text line. Hey, Matt, Super Talk's around because of people like you, Brian, Dan, Chris, and the rest. If it were not for all of you, the truth would not be getting out there. As you know, the news is controlled by Democrats, and they don't report the truth. Thank you for what you do to keep us informed. I'm grateful. Thank you, 2327, for those kind words. And then this, Matt, are you saying Israel and Taiwan are not vital national interests? No, I do believe that they are allies. I don't know that they're vital national interest in terms of our continuation as a country. but they are certainly allies that deserve our support. They need our presence. They need our strength. They don't need our money. And that's the point. Israel doesn't need our money. They need our presence. They need our military technology. They don't need cash or what cash buys them. Taiwan's a little bit of a different circumstance, but the Chinese are looking far more at our lack of national strength rather than the amount of money that we're willing to borrow. And the Chinese know very well where this money comes from. In terms of Chinese being a threat to the United States of America, that's true. But the Chinese depend on us much like we depend on them. That's one of those deals where, have you seen those tables where, I've been seeing a lot of these online lately, these tables that support each other, like there's a part of the table that weighs down the other part of the table, and that part of the table holds up the part of the table that weighs down. It's a very interesting design, and these two parts of the table exist because the other part exists. And there's chains and ropes.
I know exactly what you're talking about, yeah.
And if one part of the table ceased to exist, the other part would cease to exist. I feel that's the relationship with the Americans and the Chinese right now. So the Chinese know not to necessarily destroy us too soon because right now they're depending on the fact that we depend on them for goods. Sadly, it is true. So no, I do not believe that they need our fake money. And 4200 responded by saying, 22 senators understood that we're not alone in this world. No, sir, it's not just 22 senators, or ma'am. I don't know if you're a sir or ma'am. It's not just 22 senators. It was 72 senators. Let's not choose to exclude the 50 Democrats that had to vote along with the 22 Republicans. Or I guess it actually wasn't 50 Democrats. Now that I think about it, it was less than that because Bernie Sanders refused to support this garbage.
Well, he's an independent, so you're still right.
Right, sure. And there were like one or two other Democrats that refused to support it for their own reasons. 22 senators understood that liberty is our most valuable export. Wait a minute, I'm sorry. So without getting into an argument with a super texter here, but this is about liberty? So Ukraine is a country that values liberty now? The same Ukraine that suspended the free press in the country? The same Ukraine that suspended free elections in that country? Now, one could excuse the free elections piece because obviously they're in the middle of something. But they also have suspended the free operation of the press. So let's not lift up Ukraine as the bastion and a great example of freedom and democracy around the globe. I don't think that's the right play here.
How much more debt do we need to incur before it becomes our responsibility to ensure liberty for ourselves?
Well, and that's my point, is that no one is suggesting that we should not be promoting the tenets of a representative republic, which is a form of democracy, or democracy more broadly around the globe. Of course, we should be exporting democracy. But that doesn't have to go with a palette of freshly printed fake money. My point is we cannot continue to exist as a country if we continue to export liberty in the form of money that we don't actually have, 4,200. How is that a sustainable plan of government? You either want to tax law-abiding citizens here in the United States of America to oblivion in order to fund your wars overseas, or you don't. But this is not a sustainable plan. This borrowing. Let me ask you this, and let's put it another way. If the United States of America currently had a balanced budget amendment, which I wish we had, if the government of the United States was forced to balance their books, would we be spending this money in Ukraine or not? Yes or no? If we were forced to tax the citizens of the United States of America for every dollar we send to Ukraine, or every dollar that we send to Israel. Would we be sending that money or not? $4,200, just answer the question.
Certainly not without offsets.
And I obsess on Ukraine because Ukraine is $60 billion of the 96. I think Taiwan was, what, $6 billion? I mean, there was 16 going to, supposedly, to Israel. Once again, the Israelis are positioned, if left to their own devices, to take care of their own business. So I'm just asking you, just generic question, not directed to any super texter in particular. If we had to account for this money through taxation, would we still be spending it? The only way our politicians get away with this and call themselves Republicans or conservatives or whatever I expected out of tax and spend Democrats, the only way they get away with this is their ability to borrow money against America's future. Tracy's been holding on in Lebanon. Tracy, thank you for your patience. How are you?
I'm doing fine, Matt. Great show this morning. Hey, you get off the last first. Amanda said this morning, if you're going to mandate that outfit for y'all to wear at your Christmas party.
Wait, he was gonna what? What?
Mandate for all y'all to wear that sequence outfit at Christmas party.
Oh, was he? Well,
yeah,
that takes the fun out of me buying it then. Dadgummit.
Oh, well, I just tell you what he had said. But anyway, no, you got me riled up this morning. Because I was forced to quit work before I wanted to, Matt, because I had to take disability from all the injuries I've sustained out here working. And hell, I'm in a hole every month. I can't even pay the bills when I get my check. It's so little, and then they keep wanting to spend all of our money on everybody else besides the American people. And it all started when the gas started selling gas off first from our reserves to China, and then they started off sold all our firearms off to China. Damn, the American people got to look and realize they're setting us up for failure when China does take us over.
It feels that way sometimes.
Yeah, our government is so corrupt. That's one thing I've raised my kids and grandkids both. Don't trust anything our government tells you.
Tracy,
look what they've done to what those people done at Camp Lejeune. Put those soldiers in there knowing good and well that water was bad.
Yeah,
still let them stay there.
That's a sad set of circumstances.
To the American people, and some of it with COVID. I know America had something to do with that.
It doesn't feel like a good day in America. It doesn't feel like a good day for freedom and liberty, or for people who want to see the continuation of this country as a beacon on a hill. I mean, we're the country that everyone turns to when everything goes wrong in theirs. Who do we turn to when everything goes wrong in ours? Just to give you the breakdown, for those of you curious, the package, which is almost $1/10 trillion, $95+ billion, includes $60 billion for Ukraine. That's on top of the conservative estimate of $100 billion already going to Ukraine. Some estimates have that as much as $135 billion because there's no accountability for the money. There's no accounting for any of this money. This is not just some schmucko on the radio telling you that. Do your own research. Go Google it. Go DuckDuckGo the thing. There's no accounting for this money after it is shipped that is worthy of printing it. $60 billion for Ukraine, $14 billion for Israel, $9 billion for humanitarian assistance for Gaza. So, I mean, that's $23 billion total.
Which Hamas will take and never really distribute it to the people.
So we're offering $9 billion for quote-unquote humanitarian assistance for Gaza that Hamas will seize, as Belkay notes, and use for their own purposes, dole out on their own whim, use it for propaganda means, or turn it into a war machine that they can then continue the war against the Israeli people as a result of. So we're spending $14 billion to fight against the $9 billion that we're also spending. That makes a lot of sense. And then $5 billion for the Indo-Pacific / Taiwan folks. Democrats brought the package up for a vote after Republicans blocked a $118 billion package that also included border and immigration provisions, bad border and bad immigration provisions, by the way, which were negotiated by a number of senators who are now running around screaming that the bill was better when they were negotiating it. It was still a bad bill when they were negotiating it. We were just spending more money that we don't actually have.
I love how for the last 3 years they've told us that the border was safe and secure and there was no crisis. And then suddenly when the Republicans decide to kick the border section of this bill out, then suddenly it's, we got to have border security. The Republicans are destroying border security. I thought the border was fine.
So here's what I want to know. And I'm just going to sit back and let someone answer this question. Let's propose for a moment that Matt Murphy is in agreement with this bill. And I would suggest to you that, hey, $95 billion, that's great. That's wonderful. That's going to be money well spent. Explain to me what we're going to get for our money. Tell me what we are going to get for the $60 billion in Ukraine. Tell me what we're going to get for our $14 billion in Israel. I'm willing to listen. I'm willing to accept your answers. I just don't know what those answers are. I could probably come up with an answer for Israel. I don't know that I would believe in it, but maybe I could come up with one. I don't know that I can come up with an answer for Ukraine, and I'm being sincere as I can be. I'm not trying to be flip, and I'm not trying to be rhetorical. We've already spent well in excess of $100 billion in that region of the world toward their effort to push back the Russians. And I understand their effort can be as noble as the day is long. That doesn't mean that their effort automatically equates to our effort. I want to know what we are accomplishing by spending this money. What are the outcomes? Are we guaranteeing Ukrainian victory? Are we continuing a war that has no path to victory? I'm willing to listen. Or are we funding the military-industrial complex here in the United States of America? Are we offering kickbacks to defense contractors? I actually heard it said earlier today by a sitting senator in the United States Senate that in addition to all of the good that this accomplishes, this also stimulates our own economy through defense contracts. That's your justification for this? Here's my thing, okay? You want to bottom line it? I'll bottom line it. And then I'll take your calls with regard to where you think all of this goes. Stop being half pregnant. Either get the hell out of this entanglement or go all in. You're accomplishing nothing throwing money at it. And you ought to know that. My fear in the late winter and spring of 2022, when all of this began, I guess it was, February of 2022, when Vladimir Putin saw so much weakness on the part of the United States of America that he thought that he could take care of this. He thought it would be much easier than it has turned out to be. I have no doubt about that. That because of a weakness in leadership in Washington, D.C., that we are going to allow ourselves to slow walk ourselves into a war that we have no business being in. My position is simple. If we want to go to war with Russia, let's do it. At least I feel like we could accomplish something. It is the Mr. Miyagi principle. Y'all remember Mr. Miyagi? Y'all remember the Karate Kid? What did Mr. Miyagi tell the Karate Kid? You karate yes, okay. You karate no, okay. You karate so-so, squish, just like grape. And we're war so-so. Squish, just like grape. 54 after the hour on Super Talk. Hey, guys, let's talk about something that affects half of the men listening to me right now on Supertalk 99.7 WTN, and that is a lack of activity, motivation, or drive, specifically in the bedroom. There. I said it. And I know some of you guys are like, don't talk to me about this, Murphy. Well, it might happen to you. Might not, but it might happen to you. There's nothing to deny, to put off, or to be ashamed about, and it's certainly not something that you want to wait to get fixed. Now, guys hate going to the doctor, but at Tennessee Men's Clinic, they created their program and their practice in 2014 to take care of guys just like us. For over a decade now, the urologists and providers at Tennessee Men's Clinic have done this all day, every day. It's what they specialize in. They specialize in men and men's energy levels. They know that if you've lost a step or two, sometimes you just chalk that up to being older, but you shouldn't. They know that you should come in after you've tried other programs and failed, because they have the program available for you that will accomplish what you're trying to accomplish. Guys, it is time to feel amazing again. It's time to hit your goals again. It's time to feel energetic again. And it's time to schedule that appointment with Tennessee Men's Clinic. 615-208-9090. 208-9090, or go online to TennesseeMen'sClinic.com and book an appointment today. 2 locations to serve you. One's in Midtown, been there since 2014. The other freshly opened about a year ago in Cool Springs. It's 615-208-9090 for our friends at Tennessee Men's Clinic.
From ABC News, I'm Michelle Franzen. The fate of a Senate-passed aid bill for Ukraine, Israel, and Taiwan is unclear in the House. Speaker Mike Johnson insisting that aid bill be tied to U.S. border security, even though the House voted down an earlier version due to opposition from former President Trump.
President Biden is pushing the House to move with urgency to pass the $95 billion foreign aid bill passed by the Senate. The president in a statement saying, quote, the costs of inaction are rising every day, especially in Ukraine. He writes that the administration is seeing reports of Ukrainian troops running out of ammunition on the front lines as Russian forces continue to attack. The president adding, quote, if we do not stand against tyrants who seek to conquer or carve up their neighbors' territory, the consequences for American national security will be significant. Karen Travers, ABC News, the White House.
The White House says talks are ongoing and moving in the right direction with Middle East leaders to secure the release of more hostages held by Hamas in Gaza. White House National Security Council spokesperson John Kirby.
The whole national security team is devoted to this. We want to get those hostages home as soon as possible, and that work is going on.
Some cases in Colorado now on hold after a cyber attack.
Colorado's public defender's office says its computer system has become encrypted by malware and that now certain matters have been rescheduled on a case-by-case basis. The office has disabled its computer network and is working to bring it back online. Something similar happened in Pennsylvania. The state court system was hit with a cyber attack that caused a delay in some cases. Alex Stone, ABC News.
A winter wallop in the Northeast has shuttered schools for the day in New York and parts of New Jersey and led to nearly 1,200 flight cancellations. Some areas could log more than a foot of snow. But in New Orleans, the sun is out on this Fat Tuesday. The Mardi Gras parade taking place today before the start of Lenten season. That begins tomorrow. You're listening to ABC News.
Jeff Eddy's Efficient Heating and Cooling has long had the best value going when it comes to maintaining your unit, and I want to tell you about it. It's as simple as this. You make a call to Jeff Eddy. You tell him you've had issues with your heater. You've maybe want to get in front of air conditioner use for the spring and summer, and they will come to your home and they will maintenance your unit no matter how many you have. You could have 1, 2, 3, 4 at your residence. No matter how many, you'll never pay over $125. Oftentimes, it's quite less than that, but it's never over the $125 cap because Jeff Eddy wants to keep those prices down. Secondarily, if something goes wrong, if your heater goes out, if you're if you're struggling to keep your house warm and you can't do so, and it's 7 o'clock at night, they're not going to charge you overtime for that visit. Or if it's 8 o'clock at night, they're going to not charge you overtime for that visit because they don't believe in it. They don't charge overtime. They keep their invoices low. You pay the same 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. That's nice. It's nice to have Jeff Eddy on your side, Efficient Heating and Cooling on your side. Now, when it comes time to replace, well, they're a diamond contractor with Mitsubishi Electric and Elite Pro partner with Rheem. They want to talk with you about it, but only when it's time to replace. Give them a call today, either for maintenance or to check out that unit to make sure nothing's going wrong. EfficientHVAC.net or 615-784-4424. 784-4424 for Efficient. The vote was 70-29, with 22 Republicans voting yes. Democrat Senators Peter Welch and Jeff Merkley, plus Independent Bernie Sanders, voted no. The supplemental package is a $95 billion package, or 1/10 of $1 billion, thereabouts. Does not include any border security provisions and comes as the national debt soars to some $34+ trillion. That's trillion with a T. We've been talking about it during the Libertarian Lunch, and we'll continue to do so on the Matt Murphy Show on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Thank you for being with us. Whatever time you're able to give us, we're certainly appreciate your time and consideration. 3765 has written in, says, I hate saying this, Matt, but I don't see an exit to the cliff we're headed off of. I see perhaps a U-turn, but it looks more like a civil war against our government, hence all of that comes with that. The question is, how bad does it have to get before we, the people, try to take it back, asking for a friend? I understand the sentiment. Let's hope that it has not come to that, but I certainly understand the sentiment of the message given. You can give us a message at the aforementioned number, 615-737-9986. You can also call us. We'd love to hear from you. There are other matters going on. New developments at Lakewood Church. By the way, keep alerted to our monitors, Bell, because we're told that the President of the United States is expected to speak at some point this hour. And if that happens, I want to carry it live.
Well, I mean, if you want to skip it, I can just play some babble off the board.
Yeah, just give me a little preview of what we can expect from the President of the United States. Just a little preview. Yeah. Huh. Well, right here, Mr. President. Uh-huh. Yeah. There you go. Taste it. I can taste it, too. Smells like
doo-doo.
I didn't say that. You said that. So, the president is expected to speak about this passage out of the Senate. It's not going to be considered by the House of Representatives anytime soon. Obviously, the president feels like they've got a winning strategy to put pressure on Republicans controlling the House of Representatives to pass this boondoggle, $95 billion in yes, Trevor, you're right. He's expected to mumble soon. Not to speak soon, but to mumble soon. In the meantime, your thoughts on all of it. I believe we are half pregnant. Here's my take. We either need to stop printing money to spend money where we ought not to be spending money that we don't actually have, or if it is America's desire to go full on into war and send men and women in uniform to that region of the world to take on a battle that the Ukrainians cannot win, I'm willing to listen to that justification. But I don't hear a lot of people suggesting that. But that's where all of this is going. Where else does it go? I said this, and Bell K was here to hear it. In February of 2022, where all of this goes, We claim our support. We offer strength. We offer support. We offer negotiating power. We sit at the table of negotiation with the Ukrainian people. That eventually materializes itself in monetary payments to the Ukrainians in an effort to continue to support them. Those monetary payments very quickly transition to military-style support in terms of offering tactical operational support for the Ukrainian military. That moves very quickly into offering munitions, offering actual things, items from the United States of America to the Ukrainians in order for them to use in order to defeat the Russians. That necessitates training. We train them up. We give them air support. We give them anything and everything that they need, to include a lot of money to continue their skirmish, their war with Russia, a war that they did not start, obviously, and a war that we would love to see over, obviously. And before you know it, the United States of America has invested so much money that the money itself becomes the justification for war. Can you not hear it? Can you not already hear it? Well, Matt, we've invested almost $200 billion into the successful outcome of this war. Plus, given the fact that the Russians want to take over a region of the world that doesn't properly belong to them, we have to do something about this. Why would we not send American men and women over to help train them? And slowly but surely, we're in another war. And who benefits? Do you? Do I? Defense contractors benefit. Military-industrial complex benefits. I don't know that the family members of the soldiers that will be expected to engage would consider it a benefit. Mike is in the borough with a thought on all of this as we anticipate a conversation, or at least an address, by the President of the United States, or the resident of the United States, as it were. Hello, Mike. How are you?
Hey, Matt. How are you, sir?
I'm doing well. Thank you.
Good, good. I told you the screener there. I can't remember. Sometime last year, you had Marsha Blackburn on the phone, and there was a bunch of callers calling in about the fact who was going to be the minority leader. If you look at the problems we have right now, it goes back to Mitch McConnell. This bill wouldn't have passed the Senate if McConnell was not on the train and on the ticket with Schumer and Biden. First of all, I want to thank Senator Haggerty and Senator Blackburn for voting no on this bill. They got the message loud and clear. But we've got to correct the leadership that we have in place now as soon as possible. And I would like your take on that, because you asked her that question while she voted that day, and she gave a lame duck answer, basically blaming the loss on the Senate races on Senator Scott from Florida, which is bogus. But the bottom line is, I guess what I'm saying is, until we replace the leadership, we don't have to worry about these bogus bills. And like you said, we've already gave over $100 billion. And until we get our own border secure, there's no need to go any further. I appreciate your listening and let me comment, but if you can get Marsha back on the air again, ask her to please go after it. Let's get rid of Mitch McConnell. He's not helping us at all.
I will happily ask that question. I will ask the same question of Senator Bill Haggerty the next time we have him on. Both senators from the state of Tennessee are gracious with their time. They come on with regularity. I know that they make appearances on really all of the shows on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. I believe that Marsha Blackburn was on the drive with Brian Wilson just yesterday.
Yeah, she was.
In the 5 o'clock hour. So regularly we hear from our good senators, and the next time that I hear from Senator Marsha Blackburn or Bill Haggerty, I will ask either of them the question. Joe Biden is speaking right now, or mumbling right now, after the Senate passed this $95 billion, tenth of a trillion dollar in aid. Let's listen in from the White House.
Let the full House speak its mind and not allow a minority of most extreme voices in the House to block this bill even from being voted on. This is a critical act for the House to move.
Is that all you got?
It needs to move. The
Seems
bill
low.
provides urgent funding for Ukraine so it can keep defending itself against Putin's vicious onslaught. We've all seen the terrible stories in recent weeks. Ukrainian soldiers out of artillery shells, Ukrainian units rationing rounds of ammunition to defend themselves, Ukrainian families worried that the next Russian strike will permanently plunge them into darkness or worse. This bipartisan bill sends a clear message to Ukrainians and to our partners and to our allies around the world. America can be trusted. America can be relied upon. And America stands up for freedom. We stand strong for our allies. We never bow down to anyone, and certainly not to Vladimir Putin. So let's get on with this. Remember, the United States pulled together a coalition of nearly 50 nations to support Ukraine. We unified NATO, expanded it. We can't walk away now. That's what Putin's.
You hear what he just said there?
He just flatly said that.
We can't walk away.
Is standing up to Putin.
They're walking us to war.
It is playing into Putin's hands. As I've said before, the stakes in this fight extend far beyond Ukraine. If we don't stop Putin's appetite for power and control in Ukraine, he won't limit himself just to Ukraine. And the cost for America.
He can't beat the Ukrainians. He's not going anywhere else.
For Republicans in Congress who think they can oppose funding for Ukraine and not be held accountable, history is watching. History is watching. History is watching.
Oh, the teleprompter got stuck.
The critical moment will never be forgotten. I want to be clear about something.
Okay.
Because I know it's important to the American people. While this bill sends military equipment to Ukraine, it spends the money right here in the United States of America, places like Arizona, where the Patriot missiles are built, in Alabama, where the Javelin missiles are built, in Pennsylvania, Ohio, and Texas, where artillery shells are made. And the way it works is we supply Ukraine with military equipment from our stockpiles, and then we spend our money replenishing those stockpiles so our military has access to them. Stockpiles that are made right here in America by American workers. That not only supports American jobs and American communities, it allows us to invest in maintaining and strengthening our own defense manufacturing capacity. Look, this bill meets our national security priorities in the Middle East as well. It includes greater support for our troops serving in the region, who continue to defend against militia attacks backed by Iran. It also provides Israel with what it needs to protect its people against a terrorist group like Hamas and Hezbollah and others. And it will provide life-saving humanitarian aid to the Palestinian people who desperately need food, water, and shelter. They need help. And finally, this bill includes critical funding for our national security priorities in Asia. Because even as we focus on the conflicts in Gaza and Ukraine, we must not take our eye off our national security challenges in the Pacific. It's the responsibility of a great nation, and we are a great nation that the rest of the world looks to. And I mean that. The rest of the world looks to us. The stakes are already high
to pay their bills. Yeah, to pay for their wars.
But in recent days, those stakes have risen. And that's because the former president has sent a dangerous and shockingly, frankly, un-American signal to the world. Just a few days ago, Trump gave an invitation to Putin to invade some of our allies, NATO allies. He said if an ally didn't spend enough money on defense, he would encourage Russia to, quote, do whatever the hell they want, end of quote. Can you imagine a former president of the United States saying that? The whole world heard it. The worst thing is he means it. No other president in our history has ever bowed down to a Russian dictator. Well, let me say this as clearly as I can. I never will. For God's sake, it's dumb, it's shameful, it's dangerous, it's un-American. When America gives us word, it means something. When we make a commitment, we keep it. And NATO is a sacred commitment. Donald Trump looks at this as if it's a burden. When he looks at NATO, he doesn't see the alliance that protects America and the world. He sees a protection.
The rest of the world looks at NATO as a bank account.
NATO is built on fundamental principles of freedom, security, and national sovereignty. Because for Trump, principles never matter. Everything is transactional. He doesn't understand that the sacred commitment we've given works for us as well. In fact, I would remind Trump and all those who would walk away from NATO, Article 5 has only been invoked once, just once in our NATO history, and it was done to stand with America after we were attacked on 9/11. We should never forget it. You know, our adversaries have long sought to create cracks in the
Yes,
alliance.
you listeners are right.
The greatest
Biden is
hope of
pumped
all
up on
those who wish
something.
America
This is his
harm
5 minutes
is
today.
for
They'll call a
NATO to
lid
fall
after
apart.
this.
And you can be sure that they all cheered when they heard Donald Trump, when they heard what he said. I know this. I will not walk away. I can't imagine any other president walking away.
And, of course, Ukraine's
For
not
as
a
long
part
as
of
I'm
NATO, but
president, if
he
Putin
knows that.
attacks a NATO ally, the United States will defend every inch of NATO territory. Let me close with this.
It's almost like he's wishing that happened.
You've heard me say this before.
Oh, he's running out of
Our
gas,
nation
guys.
stands at an inflection point in history, where the decisions we make now are going to determine the course of our future for decades to come. This is one of those moments. And I say to the House members, House Republicans, you got to decide.
Oh, he's gonna
Are you
whisper.
going to stand up for freedom? Or are you going to side with terror and tyranny? You're going to stand with Ukraine? You're going to stand with Putin? Will you stand with America or with Trump? Republicans and Democrats in the Senate came together to send a message of unity to the world. It's time for the House Republicans to do the same thing. To pass this bill immediately. To stand for decency. Stand for democracy.
He's running out of gas. He's slowing down. He was all geared up right at the beginning.
History is watching. History is watching. In moments like this, we have to remember who we are. We're the United States of America. The world is looking to us. There's nothing beyond our capacity when we act together. In this case, acting together includes acting with our NATO allies.
Ukraine's not a part of NATO, man.
Protect our speakers, and I promise I'll come back and answer questions later. Thank you.
Sir, when Trump said that, sir, what did Putin hear?
What's plan B if the speaker?
There he goes. He's off to the wilderness. He remembered which way to walk. Oh, there was a guy at the door waving him over.
I love how he spews this false dichotomy that if we're not paying the bills, then Ukraine falls.
Right.
Like why isn't the EU spending their money on this?
He ignored what was he saying at the end that he promised he would come back.
He would come back and answer questions later. I guess they got to go juice him up again. I'm starting to realize whose cocaine that might have been in the White House.
Maybe so. I mean, man, he came out. He was a house of fire, and about halfway through, he just kind of faded. It was only about a 5 or 6 minute address, but.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but this whole thing about Trump inviting Russia to invade NATO, wasn't he talking past tense when he was chastising a NATO partner for not paying their 2%?
What he was saying was that NATO has an obligation and the NATO countries do not live up to their financial obligations, that they are obligated to offer defense spending too. And it shouldn't just be the United States of America. And what he is saying is, what Trump is saying is, if they don't live up to their obligations, what obligation do we have to live up to the NATO treaty? They have just as much of an obligation to live up to their side of things as we do to our side of things. So if they're not living up to their obligations, what obligation do we have for them? And yes, he upset a bunch of people by saying whatever he can do. You know, he is a sovereign country too. So our obligation exists only in as much as the countries that we bound ourselves to live up to their obligations. And what Joe Biden just said is an insult to every single American that recognizes his infirmity. That somehow, if we vote for Trump, we're not Americans. That's what he said. That you can stand with Ukraine or Vladimir Putin, you can stand with America or Trump. What a joke. We continue in a moment. Super Talk 99.7 WTN. You can reflect on Joe Biden's speech. We've also other matters to discuss. A matter of importance here at home in Metro Nashville. I'll talk about it next on Super Talk. Hey, friends, it's Matt Murphy, and I want to spend a moment talking about your health. Let's talk about where it hurts. And if you're of a certain age, it hurts somewhere, I assure you. You know, the Dr. Gill Center for Back, Neck, and Chronic Pain Relief, they understand that once we reach a certain age, back pain hurts you, neck pain, knee pain, hip pain, elbow pain, somewhere on your body, wrist pain, whatever it might be. If you're hurting and you're taking pills to avoid the pain, let's stop doing it that way and let's get to the root cause of the pain. Let's eliminate that root cause and we can go on with our lives. You do that through the Dr. Gill Center for Back, Neck, and Chronic Pain Relief. 30 years ago plus, Dr. Gill started his center and he assembled a team of experts, and that team still exists down there with over 100 years of experience. People like Dr. Wendy, Dr. V, Dr. Dominic, and they are so good at what they do, and that is simple. To help you avoid pain, to help you alleviate that pain without depending on pills, without depending on shots, and without considering surgery. That's what it's all about, folks. So if you're in pain right now, you need to pick up the phone and make a call to the Dr. Gill Center for Back, Neck, and Chronic Pain Relief. 615-882-4838. 882-4838 for the Dr. Gill Center. Would love to hear from you, and I would love for you to make the call. And tell them that Matt Murphy sent you to the Dr. Gill Center for Back, Neck, and Chronic Pain Relief in Franklin. Hey, friends, it's Matt Murphy, and I want to tell you about a brand new sponsor to the Matt Murphy Show on Super Talk. It is Members Nutrition. At Members Nutrition, and I sat down with these guys last week, they believe in empowering individuals like you to take charge of their health and well-being. Their journey began with a vision to create natural supplements right here in the United States of America to address health concerns, providing simple and accessible solutions to everybody in a natural, holistic fashion. And you don't have to look overseas to get this because these are made right here in the good old USA. Right now, I want to tell you for a moment about the Youthful Cleanse. Let's face it, you're full of it, and if your body is full of it, you need to get rid of those toxins that can build up in your body and suppress your immunity and your ability to absorb nutrition. This is the first step in getting back to a healthy lifestyle, is cleansing the body of that excess waste. If you feel bloated, gross, sluggish, change your body's oil, and you start with a Youthful Cleanse from Members Nutrition. So the benefits are obvious. It will boost your digestive health. It will detoxify you and cleanse you. It will support nutrient absorption. It is all available for you at membersnutrition.com. Go there, and when you do, tell them Matt Murphy sent you to membersnutrition.com, brand new sponsor of the show, membersnutrition.com. Super Talk 99.7 WTN 129. Running a little bit tardy, thank you to Joe Biden. He's a tardy of a different sort. 5685 takes the words right out of my mouth. These speeches work because so many Americans are uneducated in basic logic and basic world affairs. The speech was, as 5685 writes, chock full of appeal to emotion and false dichotomy, but most people can't recognize that. So, he props up this false dichotomy of the NATO. Oh, our NATO allies, and not 1 inch of NATO, and Ukraine's not a part of NATO. And And so we owe Ukraine nothing, yet we spend all of this money that we don't have to spend on our own border security for their border security. And he says that that's in America's interest and we can't back down now. What does that mean? And how is this going to actually assist in ending that conflict? I believe that Joe Biden is trying to walk us into war. I believe that. I could be dissuaded of that belief, but it would take some pretty compelling testimony. Todd and David, will get to your testimony momentarily. As I mentioned, running a little bit tardy because of the speech from Joe Biden offered at the White House today. Boy, oh boy, he was on fire for a minute, wasn't he? I mean, for Biden, that was something else. I mean, he wasn't stuttering and muttering. I mean, for just a moment, the drugs were working.
His 5-hour energies last about 5 minutes.
And then about halfway through, he just kind of slowed down, and you could see if you were watching, and I was, his eyes kind of glazed over a little bit. Maybe the teleprompter slowed down on him for a second, and everything he said points us toward war. What is Joe Biden's out during a presidential year? By the way, meantime, have you seen the stock market?
Oh, that doesn't matter, man. But normal people don't deal in stock market.
I've
been credibly told that by the Democrats.
That's a rich person's game
right,
there?
Exactly.
Mm-hmm. Stock market's in the toilet today to the tune of like negative 800 in the red. Apparently, the stock market doesn't like the idea of war very much. Everything he said points us to war. And Sandra's right. I thought he was going to yawn for a second, too, Sandra. I'm right there with you. It's 1:32. We'll get to more of your commentary in a moment on the possibility, the specter of war as presented by the Democrats on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. You know, when you're out on the golf course and people say, you know, your swing might be a little off balance because you don't have a good solid foundation. You need to repair your foundation, Murphy, they say to me on the golf course, amongst other things. Well, your foundation means a lot, and especially when it comes to your home. USS, they are your foundation experts when it comes to your house. When it comes to home repairs, you want to make sure that you're calling the right people because, frankly, you wouldn't know if people were upcharging you. You wouldn't know that unless I told you that they were, or unless someone told you that they were. Well, I can tell you this. At USS, you have 25,000 reasons to know and believe that they don't do that around there. That's because they have that many satisfied customers that have testified to that point, that they don't upcharge you, they don't overcharge you, they don't sell you something that you don't need. They fix what ails your home. If you've noticed the signs of foundation issues, if you've seen the cracks or the cracking, if you've noticed the signs of waterproofing issues, if you believe an encapsulation is in your future, if you don't even know what an encapsulation is, it's time to give USS a call. They've satisfied so many customers since 1994. They've been in business for that length of time, and now they want to hear from you. Give them a call today or go online at USSTN.com. That's USSTN.com. Satisfying Middle Tennessee, Southern Kentucky, and Northern Alabama for the last 30 years. 615-488-7855. 488-7855 for USS, United Structural Systems. Super Talk 99.7 WTN. It's almost like there's two different shows going on. I pride myself on being as responsive as anyone during the show to your super texts. So even if I don't read your super text on air, I read it off air, and oftentimes I will comment. For example, 4200 has written in and said, ignoring history, Matt, we guaranteed Ukraine's security if they gave up their nukes after the Cold War. We did that. Russia invaded in 2014 and 2022 because Ukraine had no nukes. And I said, well, if that's the case, if that's your position, and I understand that position, I understand that some people believe that those guarantees were to infinity and beyond. I do not share that opinion, by the way. At some point, that verbal commitment, that written commitment, has changed over time. Well, if that's your position on this, if you're being honest about what that entails, it entails American boots on Ukrainian soil. If you have that position that America must act in a strength or from a position of strength, and that we owe Ukraine something, I mean, forgetting that it gets us nothing, that's fine. If that's your position, then you should be supportive of America going to war with Russia. Because that's what you're supporting. This is an American proxy war with Russia right now. A Russia, by the way, that had all of our relationships reset during the Barack Obama administration. Remember when Hillary Clinton went over and took them the reset button? She literally, in 2009, took them a reset button. We're going to reset relations with Russia and Vladimir Putin. I guess that's over. Now we need a common enemy in order for the Democrats to make us forget how they have failed the United States of America in our own needs. Todd is next. He's calling from Kentucky. Hey, Todd, how are you?
What's going on, Matt?
What's up, Todd?
I listened to the speech when you put it on, and I heard him say that we have 50 countries in a coalition, and in the bill, they want $95 billion. Now, if that's the case, if each country put in $2 billion, they have more than the $95 billion that they need. So, therefore, they don't need our money. This is all just BS that they are doing with the industrial complex just so they can get what they want, and all these companies that are making military bullcrap can make money. He's not even worried about what's going on here in our own country when we're being invaded. It makes me worry about my son, my grandchildren, everything that's going on right now. This is ridiculous.
It is.
I'll go ahead and hang up, Matt, and listen. Thank you for what you do.
Thank you, Todd. I appreciate you, too. I worry where this heads as well. I have predicted since February of 2022 that without curtailing this, without the American people waking up to the slow walk that's going on, we're slow walking ourselves into a war with Russia. And it never seems more present than today when the President of the United States of America, Joe Biden, like it or not, steps out in some room in the White House and declares that we are essentially there. The agreement mentioned by the super texter, and I just looked it up so I didn't screw this up because I didn't have this at the top of my memory. It was the 1994 Trilateral Statement. Ukraine agreed to transfer its nuclear warheads to Russia and accepted U.S. assistance in dismantling missiles, bombers, and infrastructure. Ukraine's warheads would be dismantled in Russia. Ukraine would receive compensation for the commercial value of the uranium. This was an effort in order to de-nuke Ukraine. The United States and Ukraine had a bilateral investment treaty. U.S. exports to Ukraine included coal, machinery, vehicles, agricultural products, fish and seafood, and aircraft. U.S. imports from Ukraine included iron, steel, inorganic chemical, oil, iron, steel product, aircraft, and agriculture. And nowhere in the agreement did it claim that it was universally to be accepted until the end of time. David is next in McMinnville. Hey, David. Glad you called. How are you?
Very good, Matt. I'm telling you, if it wasn't for the morning crew, you and Chris and Mark Levin, I wouldn't have nothing to do.
Well, I'm glad we give you something to do, David.
I'm telling you, I'm lost when the weekend comes. This morning, Dan was mentioning something about this deal with the money and everything and all this paperwork. He was saying something, I didn't catch it all, about they had some hidden underlinements in it that even if Trump manages to get in the White House, he won't be able to make any changes to anything, whether it's the illegals, et cetera, and I didn't catch it all, and I wanted to see if you knowed and get some more info out there for everybody else. And then we've got this little deal that's been going on since back around Thanksgiving. A lot of people like me, disabled, senior citizens, and retired and stuff, they're having problems with their medications, their insurance. I broke bones in my neck and my spine, which was already crushed. I had to wait 4 months before I could get any scans. And they said, well, things are backed up. And the medications, same way. Sometimes they got them, sometimes they don't. They're sourcing them from all over the world. I got 3 kinds of the same pills this time. Some of them work, some of them don't. But anyway, it's getting to the point, and I walk around, I don't shut up. I proudly speak my piece anywhere I'm at. And I've been told that, the Americans are second. The illegals that's coming in is being given monthly checks, full medical, everything that Americans can't even get. It ain't costing a dime. We're paying for it. New cars, a home, et cetera, et cetera. So anybody out there having a problem, don't think it's a technical problem and legitimate. Call, complain, and raise Cain, because that's what I've been having to do for me, the other half, and a few other people I know, because I don't know what the deal is, but we're American, so I guess we'll go with Trump. Maybe we'll have America and Trump instead of what we got and what we're getting, because it stinks.
Well, I mean, according to Joe Biden, and thanks for the call, David, and I'm glad that you're feeling all right, and I hope that you continue to feel better, buddy. According to Joe Biden, you can't have America and a Trump. You can have America or – that's what he said today. I just heard him. He said it's America or Trump. It's not America and a Trump. That you pick Ukraine or Russia. You pick America or Trump. This was from earlier today, and I noticed this at the time, and it's gotten a lot of notice moments after he uttered these words. He invoked – Joe Biden is so desperate to draw us into war, he's invoking 9/11 in order to accomplish that. Listen to this.
The rest of the world looks to us. The stakes are already high for American security before this bill was passed in the Senate last night. But in recent days, those stakes have risen. And that's because the former president has sent a dangerous and shockingly, frankly, un-American signal to the world. Just a few days ago, Trump gave an invitation to Putin to invade some of our allies, NATO allies. He said if an ally didn't spend enough money on defense, he would encourage Russia to, quote, do whatever the hell they want.
That's not what Donald Trump said, first and foremost. Donald Trump indicated, as most Americans agree, that we don't just hand money out to foreign nations without expecting that they live up to their obligations that they agree to at the time that we agree to give money. The United States of America is, has been, and will always be on the hook for the majority of the NATO money. What we expect is that other nations are going to utilize some of their money, I think it's 2% of GDP, something like that, for their own defense, and they're not doing that. Why should they? When America is here for them, the world police. It's ridiculous. It's absurd. And at some point, it has to end. This exploitation of the United States of America that continues. One more thought on this. We'll move on to some other matters coming up in just a moment. Jeff is in Hendersonville. Jeff, thank you for your call. How are you?
Hey, doing well. Just shopping for Valentine's Day stuff for my wife.
Oh, good for you. You're doing this early, man.
Oh, sorry. I'm going to make all you guys look bad. But, hey, two thoughts really quickly. What specifically am I getting for my what? $400 billion at this point? Like, I want some line items here. And then number two, what if Putin calls our bluff? Like, seriously, like really calls our bluff? What's going to happen then? I'll leave it to you. Have a good one.
Thanks a lot, Jeff. Enjoy yourselves. Or enjoy yourself out there shopping for your better half for Valentine's Day, making the rest of the fellas in the listening audience look bad. I mean, you're on top of it, man. You're like 12 hours ahead of the game. Congratulations. One of my favorite sports annually is to go to the grocery store. I've mentioned this week. I love going to the grocery store. After my show tomorrow, I'll go off to the grocery store. E and I don't really celebrate because she, as I do, recognize that it's a greeting card, flower, candy-based holiday, and just ridiculous. You got to love each other every day, man. Got to love one another every day. That said, I love going to the grocery store at about 4:30, 4:45 in the afternoon on Valentine's Day and watching the poor, pathetic wretches milling about the floral department, trying to pick up the crumbs that are still there. Oh, and there are crumbs. They come in a 12-pack. A 12-pack of flowers and maybe a 12-pack of beer for you. Tony writes in and says, I did my Valentine stuff this morning. Delivered them to her work. See, that's a smart play, man. Tony, that's smart. You are one of the smarter listeners of the radio show because not only do you get it done early, delivering it to her work, if she works and you deliver, that is double bonus territory because not only does she feel the love, but all of her coworkers get to see it. And that's important.
That's actually, he's a pretty smart guy.
That's important because whether she admits it or not, she wants all of those coworkers to see it. And
unfortunately for you, Erica works out of the house.
That's true. Did you get your bouquet? Did you see your bouquet? Oh, did you see the bouquet that he brought me? Oh, that's nice. Oh, I like your bouquet. It's yellow. Oh, but mine's red.
Hey, Andrea, did you get a Oh, that's right. You're single.
Wendy says, Cousin Matt thinks his wife doesn't care about Valentine's Day with two laughy faces. And then she said, P.S. Tony is lying. Probably. Getting a jump on Valentine's Day comes on the 13th of February, never before. It's 1:50 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. I need to get a jump on something that's going to break later on in the week. It involves the city of Nashville. And yes, it involves something that's near and dear to my heart, racing. But you don't have to care about racing to care about this. And you better listen up because yet another billionaire is coming after your history, Nashville. And I want to know what you're going to do about it. 151 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Hello, friends. Matt Murphy here for Defense Systems. Defense Systems is a life safety security consultation firm specializing in physical security consultation and active violence mitigation right here in Middle Tennessee. Their clients include schools, corporations, healthcare facilities, law firms, manufacturing facilities, corporate headquarters, entertainment venues, and yes, this facility at Cumulus Nashville. I first met Brink Fiddler as he was conducting one of his seminars right here at Cumulus Nashville to help us understand what to do in the event of an emergency. And I said, I got to get this guy on my show. I need this guy in my life, and I need to tell as many businesses, as many schools, as many healthcare facilities, as many law firms, anywhere where people gather, you need to know about the services offered by Brink Fiddler and Defense Systems. Now, obviously, it's a dangerous world, and we hear about dangerous circumstances going on all the time. That doesn't mean that the possibility of workplace violence at your workplace is very low. It is, at your school, very low, almost minuscule, but it's not zero. And if it's not zero, that means hope is not a plan. It is time to get trained with Defense Systems. Make the call that so many others have made to Defense Systems. Go online, start that journey at defensesystems.com, and then pick up the phone and dial 615-236-6484, 236-6484. Tell them Matt Murphy sent you to the one and only Defense Systems. Super Talk 99.7 WT, and I just posted something. If you want a little good news and recognize that there's a lot of happiness that goes on in the world that we don't often recognize, go and read my post that I just retweeted on the X machine from Happy Captain. He writes in, "Hey, my toddler left his toy at a hotel while traveling. We called them, and they said that they would get us in the mail for us. This morning, I opened my email, and I had this from them. Please repost this and help them get some recognition for the awesome customer service." So this guy, his kid, I don't have time. So I'm going to have to do it in the 2 o'clock hour. I don't have time. This guy's kid left his little toy. It's a little dog. It's a little...
you teased it. Don't give it all away on the front end. You teased it.
I'm not. Why don't you get out of my way, Belle? You go do something.
This is really sweet, though. I'm looking at the tweet now.
Are you looking at this?
I'm excited to hear more about
it. Oh, no, this is very good.
Sweet.
This is very good. So kid loses toy, leaves toy at hotel. What happens next? Well, you have to wait for the bad news with Mac Morey, and then I'll give you the good news on the other side. It's Super Talk 99.7 WT, and hang in there.
2 o'clock, I'm Mac Morey with your top stories. Currently 53 degrees, a nice sunny day in Nashville, and a clear forecast this week, mainly clear anyways. Weather forecast coming up in 2 minutes. The White House warning that a failure by the House to pass additional aid for Israel and Ukraine would call into question American leadership on the world stage. House Speaker Mike Johnson is saying he won't take up the bill. Karen Travers has the latest from the Biden administration.
The White House is reiterating there's no plan B when it comes to getting funding to Ukraine if the House doesn't pass the $95 billion foreign aid measure already approved by the Senate. National Security spokesman John Kirby.
There is no magical pot of money from which to draw to try to support these allies and these partners.
Kirby said it's Congress that needs to act and move this funding forward.
And President Biden said today during an address to the nation, quote, "We stand strong for our allies. We never bow down to anyone, and certainly not to Vladimir Putin. So let's get in on with this." If you're a fan of those prepackaged salad kits, there's a recall you should know about. Take a look at the label. If it's a chopped or premium salad kit made by Dole, it might be infected with listeria. Call your grocery store or Dole for more information. And if you're flying anywhere today, don't be surprised if you have issues because snow in the Northeast disrupting the entire system. Alex Stone tells us 1,200 flights have already been canceled.
JetBlue with its hub at New York's JFK Airport, along with United, Delta, Southwest, and the regional partners, have the most canceled flights today. JetBlue alone has canceled 158 flights. As snow comes down, LaGuardia, Newark Liberty, Boston Logan, and JFK have the most canceled flights of any airports in the world today.
And that is the latest news. Weather forecast next. I'm Mac Morey, WTN News.
Do you feel unrested when you wake up and you feel like you should have had enough sleep, but you don't feel like you did have enough sleep? You might have sleep apnea. If you don't know, it's time to find out with Dr. Stephen Poss and the Sleep Apnea and TMJ Solution Center, an alternative to people who have sleep apnea, mild to moderate, whether you've been diagnosed or not. They can give you the sleep apnea test. And you cannot wear a CPAP machine. Let's talk about that, because I could never wear a CPAP machine, but I just was tested by Dr. Poss, and I'm going over to find out the findings, the results of my sleep examination. And it's so simple. You can do it from home. I mean, you do it from home. I never thought that I could even do that. You wear a device that is non-interruptive of your sleep, because that would be beside the point, right, obviously. And then they give you an examination of what they find, how many times you're waking up in the middle of the night, do you stop breathing in the middle of the night? These types of things matter. And folks, when they get to it, they get after it, and you don't have to go for a CPAP machine if you don't think that's a possibility in your life. You can wear a mouth-based appliance from Dr. Poss that is custom fitted to your mouth that will solve your sleep apnea issues, will stop the snoring, will stop interrupting your partner, and will get you a better night's sleep. That's what it's all about. Dr. Poss is in network with most major medical insurance companies like BCBS, Aetna, Cigna, United Healthcare, and TRICARE for the military. That's important as well, because you don't want to have to come out of pocket for all of these things. 2 convenient offices in Brentwood and Murfreesboro. Go see him today. Start the journey at drposs.com, drposs.com, drposs.com. It's Dr. Stephen Poss and the Sleep Apnea and TMJ Solution Center. All right, here we are. Here we go. Hour number 3 of the Matt Murphy Show on this Tuesday edition. Pleased you've decided to join us. It is St. Valentine's Day Eve for you gentlemen out there in the listening audience. John writes in, we were talking about it last hour, says, Matt, it's an extra opportunity to make her feel special and help her understand how much she blesses your life. My wife knows daily how much she means to me. For nearly 40 years, I've given her written words to express this on our anniversary, Valentine's, birthday, and Mother's Day. It blesses her and me to realize her greatness. That's from John. John, you're exactly right. And all men should try to do this for their wives. This from 3989. Matt, I told my husband not to send me flowers to work because I did not want the attending from my coworkers. This is good. Instead, he sent me a barbershop quartet from the Music City Chorus. Not only did I get the attention from my coworkers, but from the entire company. Nothing says I love you like a love ballad. That's very sweet. And I got a lot of other correspondence about Valentine's Day. I called it Valentine's Day Eve and talked about watching the Wretches at 4:30, 5 o'clock tomorrow afternoon at the grocery store, who waited to the last minute and now have to pick up the dregs of the chocolates and the candies and the flowers and whatnot. I hope that you go a little earlier than that. All right, real quick this, and then I'll get to the local story I want to tell you about. So, sometimes you find things on social media that warm your heart. It is all too rare nowadays. But occasionally we find those things. I just reposted this on the X machine. So if you follow me at Matt Murphy Show, you can see it with your own eyes. It's a much better visual than it is on radio. But I'm going to, Happy Captain just followed me. Oh, that's pretty cool. Maybe we can get this guy on the radio and talk to him about this. That's pretty cool. I followed him back. So this guy's name is Happy Captain. And his handle is EOD at EOD Happy Captain. And he says, Guy. I don't know if he's just saying guy like generic, hey guys, but one way or the other. My toddler left his toy at an IHG hotels while traveling. We called them and they said they would get it into the mail for us. This morning, I opened my email and had this from them. Please repost and help them get recognition for their awesome customer service. And I'm going to read you the post that they sent in email form. So his little kid left their toy behind. The toy looks to be a little dog, and the dog's got a little outfit on, but it's just a small little plush animal. And the email that they sent is entitled, My Adventure at the Holiday Inn Express. To start his day, so they didn't know the name of the toy, so they can't really name the toy, so they're just saying he. To start his day, he spent some time with us at the front desk. He did an amazing job, and all the guests loved him. He was the star of the show and always so friendly and polite. And then they've got a picture of him on the front desk, and they've got a picture of him like at the keyboard, working on a reservation for someone. After his time at the desk, he was a little hungry, so we went over to the market to get him a snack. He got some Chex Mix and orange juice. While he ate, we talked about how much he couldn't wait to get home to you. And then they show a photo of him in the little break area of the Holiday Inn Express, having some Chex Mix and some OJ. He was so excited, he even asked us for directions. He used the computers in our lobby to look up how to get back to you. But he got distracted by pictures of squirrels, silly dog. And then it shows him on the computer in the break room looking at photos of squirrels. After his little break, he went with us to get breakfast set up for tomorrow. He helped us stock up on bread and bagels and made sure to make them look pretty. Our breakfast lady was so happy to have help that she made sure he was able to sample the food as well, and then they show him in the midst of all of the bagels and the donuts. Once breakfast was set up, he went over to the laundry room. While he was there, he helped us load the washer and get all the towels folded, and there he is, sitting in front of the big industrial laundry machine. After laundry, he asked us if he could go to the gym to work out a little to make sure he was strong enough so he could get home faster. He worked out on the bicycle and lifted weights to ensure that he could give you the tightest hug ever when he gets home. And there's the little dog. They've got him right behind a little set of barbells, so a little weights. He's doing a little weightlifting, and there he is on the treadmill. And then all the work made him very sleepy, so he took a nice long nap, and when he was ready to make his way home to you, we're happy that he's headed home. It's been such a pleasure having him here, and there he is in the bed, all snuggled in the bed. And it's regards, Holiday Inn Express staff and management. P.S. While he was here, he met some new friends. He will be missed by everybody. And there he is with a couple of other stuffed animals that they found around sitting on the desk before his journey back home. Now, you want to talk about a way to make lifelong customers? You want to talk about a level of customer service that goes above and beyond? I mean, it seems silly, but let me tell you something. That's a standout in a world of dismissal. It would have been easy for someone at IHG or the Holiday Inn Express to say, you know what? Didn't find it. Couldn't find it. Sorry, guys. Shouldn't have left it behind. Not here. But that's not what happened. What happened was they're getting a free plug on the Matt Murphy Show on Super Talk 99.7 WTN because of the kindness of this individual. I would have told you where it was, but they blacked out the specific location. And I'm guessing, that's so as not to cause trouble down the road. But what a great example of what good customer service is all about. And what a great story that kid will have for a long, long time. And that family is now lifelong customers of Holiday Inn Express. And I'll tell you this, next time I take a trip, I might decide to go over to the Holiday Inn Express myself because I want to feel smarter and maybe a little bit kinder. So there's that. If you missed it, Joe Biden spoke earlier today and spoke quite a bit of war. Joe Biden saying that it was absolutely urgent, beyond urgent, that we print fake money and send it over to Ukraine. And he even went so far as to make the point that I've heard other Democrats making that, hey, this money is spent right here at home. They're actually suggesting that we should be a part of the military-industrial complex war machine because it helps stimulate and boost the American economy in the process. Hey, these are missiles made right in Alabama. These are missiles made right in Arizona. These are products made right here in the good old USA. Don't you want your workers to continue to work to make a living, funding the military-industrial complex? If we didn't have all of this war, our economy would be in the shambles. Is that the argument that they're actually making? That we need to perpetuate war in order to keep our economy afloat? It sure as hell sounds like it. It sure as hell sounds like it. Frightening. That was earlier today, and we're continuing to monitor that, and we'll bring you any of the updates on the stories that you need to know about. Now, this is an update on a story that we first brought you some months ago on the Matt Murphy Show on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. We covered Nashville's mayor's race as comprehensively, I believe, as anyone on radio or even perhaps on television. We had several individuals that were running. Remember, hey, Belle, remember the good old days when we had Heidi Campbell on and we were nice to her? Back when she was running for mayor?
Mm-hmm.
Remember that?
Before you invited her to leave?
Before I invited her to leave the show? That's right. We had Alice Rowley on. We had Freddie O'Connell on.
Had Freddie on a few times since he got elected.
Yeah, we believe it or not. Well, we need to schedule him to come back on again because I have some new news regarding an issue that was very present during the mayor's race involving the Nashville Fairgrounds, more specifically the Nashville Fairgrounds Speedway. It was not that long ago, just over a decade ago, that this community, long before I got here, the city of Nashville, Davidson County at large, voted on what to do with the racetrack at the Nashville Fairgrounds Speedway. And overwhelmingly, it was decided, I think it was over 70% of the vote, it was decided that the citizens of this community wanted to continue the tradition of racing that has been going on at that track since 1904. Now, I predicted to you that John Ingram, who is the principal owner of the Nashville Soccer Club, was actively trying to take over that portion of the fairgrounds and use it for his own purposes. And now we have evidence that this move is afoot, and they are trying to do this as we speak. Now, this is a local issue. I understand that. And maybe some of you out in Wilson County or Murray County or Rutherford or what, maybe you don't feel like it's your issue, but it is. And I'm going to explain to you why. It's also maybe going to seem like a very specific issue regarding those who like racing or those who like motorsports more generally. Let me tell you, this is more than just that. It's about keeping those things within your community that have been here for so long, that have become a part of the cultural identity of the city of Nashville in Nashville. I know it all too well. And I said it at the time that we first brought this up, that once you lose these one-off type things, you lose them forever. There's never any going back. And already we've lost too much in the city of Nashville, haven't we? Haven't we? I mean, you think about, and look, I've only been here for 2.5 years thereabouts. But I know from personal experience in my time in Birmingham, Alabama, and before that, my time growing up in Georgia, that once you lose these things, they're gone. And all you have left are memories and lamentations. The memories of what was, and you lament what could have been. Opryland is the best example of what I'm talking about, folks. And it could have been so much worse. Opryland is an example of what happens when these things go poof in the middle of the night, and there's nothing to be done about it. There are some positive examples of things that almost went poof in the city of Nashville that were somehow saved. I wasn't here at the time. I don't know the intimate details of how they were saved, but I know that they were saved. The Ryman Auditorium is one of them. It is difficult to imagine, but history has written this love story about the Ryman Auditorium. And in the historical record of the love story that is a part of the Ryman Auditorium, it is a fact that there was a big-time consideration to tear it down. Tell me I'm wrong. In the late 1980s, as downtown had digressed and fallen into disrepair, as the downtown area of Nashville, I don't have to tell you because some of you lived through it. I did not. It was a bunch of peep shows and empty storefronts and maybe a bar here or there. And thanks to a lot of very important people, not the least of which was Emmylou Harris, it's my understanding, the Ryman Auditorium was saved and a foundation was created and money was raised. And look at it now, the mother church of country music. 8335 writes in and says the Ernest Tubb Record Shop is apparently being turned into a bar. Actually, what I was told, and I was a part of the push, I know Brian Wilson talked about this as well. I talked about it on my radio show. Others spoke on it. As that building was sold, David McCormick sold that building, but we were told because of a pushback within the community that it would not be degraded beyond its current disrepair, and that at very least the building frontage would be preserved in its current state to preserve the history of the Ernest Tubb Record Shop. And Renee says Ricky Skaggs had something to do, along with Emmylou Harris, with the saving of the Ryman, and I'm sure he did. And I don't want to take anything away from Ricky. The point is this. There were inflection points in time where we could decide as a community which direction we were going to go. And so often it is the case that out-of-town developers or money people come into town and they don't have any respect for the history of the community. They just want to build something new and different that's going to make them a lot of money. And you know what? Making money is not a bad thing, but not at the sacrifice of the city's history, the fabric of the community. I'll give you another example. Fort Negley. Was it not the case? Y'all tell me. Was it not the case that they were going to destroy Fort Negley and build condominiums on the property that Fort Negley's currently, Fort Negley's been there since the Civil War, for goodness sake. Now, I understand they built that Discovery Center, that Adventure Center right in front of Fort Negley, right at the base of it. But what I've been told by Alice Rowley and others, and I think Alice Rowley was instrumental in helping protect Fort Negley, that there was development that was going to come in and just destroy it. Well, now we come to the Nashville Fairgrounds Speedway. Despite a vote to insist that racing continue at the Nashville Fairgrounds Speedway some 12 or so years ago, there was a letter written on January 31st, 2024, this year, not a month ago. It was written to Austin Kyle, the clerk at the Metro Courthouse of the Metropolitan Government of Davidson County. And it is a letter requesting an amendment to the charter of the city of Nashville and the Metro Government Charter pursuant to Section 19.03 of the Charter of the Metro Government of Nashville and Davidson County. We, the undersigned registered voters of Nashville and Davidson County, hereby seek to initiate an amendment to the charter by petition. Specifically, we seek to amend Section 11.602D of the charter relative to the function and duty of the Metro Board of Fair Commissioners as required. Below is information to initiate the amendment. Number 1, title of the proposed amendment: adding affordable housing and removing auto racing from the list of required activities at the Nashville Fairgrounds. In other words, proceedings have begun, and I am here to tell you these proceedings are being led by John Ingram, who lied to this community when he promoted his new stadium for soccer. He lied to the people of this city. He lied to you, and he lied to every person listening to him when he said he was supportive of auto racing, and he's trying to destroy auto racing in this community, and he's just trying to destroy the fabric of this community that's been in existence since 1904. And he's doing it through Kenneth Bird and Heidi Basgall, who were the undersigned on this letter. But it's Ingram's people that are doing this. Now, you cannot give one rip about auto racing, and that's fine. You can give not one rip about the fairgrounds. That's fine, too. And if you want a billionaire to lie to the people of this community so that he could get his stadium, claiming that he wanted the fairgrounds to exist and he wanted the speedway to exist. And by the way, John Ingram's welcome to come on this show and explain to me how he's not lying. And I'm welcome to hear. And I will retract everything. I will call it all back if he makes an explanation that makes sense to me. Nashville's got a decision to make. This is just an opening of the conversation. The decision is simple. Do you want a billionaire to destroy what's been around since 1904 to build, quote, affordable housing on that property? Or are you willing to do something to save it? By the way, there's still a proposal to invest $135 million by Bristol Motor Speedway to make improvements to that area, and they want to bring a NASCAR race to this community. They want to bring a NASCAR race to that facility, and they're willing to spend money to do it. It won't cost the taxpayers a single dime to do it. But John Ingram doesn't want it. And where's Freddie O'Connell, the new mayor? Well, hiding? Hiding? Who knows? We'll find out. We'll invite Freddie on to speak his mind on this. Freddie told us that he would have an opinion on it after he studied the proposal. We're still waiting. It's 2:25 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Hey, friends, it's Matt Murphy. PAI Medical is on my mind. And if you don't have as much hair on your head as you used to have on your head, well, I want PAI Medical to be on your mind as well. Let's talk about this. It is an incredible opportunity for you if you're losing your hair, if the hair is thinning, if the hair is going, if you know it or if you suspect it, it's time to make an appointment with PAI Medical. They are the We Grow Hair people. They're the only company in the state of Tennessee to have the PAI Medical multi-unit hair grafting procedure. We Grow Hair is the bottom line, the best in the industry in Nashville, Tennessee, and beyond. The trademark procedure is the only one that gives you more hair in one grafting procedure than any other, saving you time and money. Plus, they do preventative maintenance as well, and I'm going to walk through that myself. I'm meeting with the guys next week. Now, if you're watching me on television, you know that I have a full head of hair, but I've gone through my paces, and I want to make sure that I keep that full head of hair, and I get in front of it before I start losing some of my hair, and that's what I'm doing at PAI Medical. So wherever you are in your hair loss journey, because odds are if you're a guy, you're on some place on that journey, you need to contact We Grow Hair. WeGrowHair.com is the website. See the amazing results for yourself. Make a call and initiate a private consultation of your own at We Grow Hair. The number, 615-376-6010, 376-6010 for We Grow Hair. If you're enrolled in one of these big-time insurance plans or medical plans and you feel like you're stuck with it, then I've got a message for you. And Pat Davis of Your Health Plan Man has a message for you as well. The Freedom of Choice plan offered by Your Health Plan Man is available to those who qualify year-round. Your Health Plan Man's Freedom of Choice plan puts most of the coverage up front with very little to no deductible. You pick your doctors. It's 30 to 60% lower than the even Obamacare costs that we hear about so often. This plan is available all year round, as I mentioned, to those who qualify. These plans have nothing to do with your income. There's no surprises at tax time. Why pay for government-mandated health care and government mandates like, for example, maternity coverage if you don't need it? If you're paying for your own health insurance, if you're on COBRA, if you're uninsured, you need to call my man Pat Davis and his team at Your Health Plan Man. And I put my money where my mouth is because I did the math and I recognized that the wife would be better on the Your Health Plan Man coverage. And so we went to that, and we are so happy that we did. It's time to make the call that so many others have made to Your Health Plan Man. Go to yourhealthplanman.com or call 4PLAN-MAN. That's 855-4PLAN-MAN, 855-475-2662. Tell them Matt Murphy sent you to Your Health Plan Man, yourhealthplanman.com.
2:31, I'm Mac Maury with your top stories. 53 degrees, a sunny day in Nashville. Weather forecast coming up. The White House warning that a failure by the House to pass additional aid for Israel and Ukraine would call into question American leadership on the world stage. Now, House Speaker Mike Johnson spoke on this, and President Biden says Ukraine needs additional aid to fight the war brought on by Russian leader Vladimir Putin. Karen Travers has the latest.
President Biden said the House should quickly pass the $95 billion foreign aid bill.
I urge Speaker Johnson to bring it to the floor immediately. Immediately.
The president said the bill gives critical, urgent funding to Ukraine for its fight against Russia and Vladimir Putin's, quote, vicious onslaught.
Supporting this bill is standing up to Putin. Opposing it is playing into Putin's hands.
Right now in Tennessee, Clarksville police are trying to identify a group of 4 people that were involved in car thefts last week. The burglaries all occurred last Wednesday. Officials are now asking for help in identifying those suspects or the vehicle used. And Major League Baseball is about to get its first ever lead female play-by-play announcer. Alex Stone has the story.
And that ball is shot into left field.
Jenny Cavnar is no stranger to talking on TV about baseball. She's been the backup play-by-play announcer for the Colorado Rockies, and before that, she covered the San Diego Padres as a reporter, telling ABC News affiliate KMGH a few years ago.
This is my passion. I know this game.
Now Cavnar has been named the Oakland A's lead play-by-play announcer, the first woman in MLB history to serve as a team's primary play-by-play voice.
And that is the latest news. Weather's next. I'm Mac Maury, WTN News.
Hey, friends, it's Matt Murphy. I want to speak to you for a moment about a new webinar by Paul Winkler called Politics and Portfolios, How to Invest During Election Season. You can register for said same by going to paulwinkler.com/election. Now, everyone's talking about what the market will do this year. Some say the markets typically outperform during election years. Others will tell you that we're heading for a recession and things are about to tank. The problem is so much of the advice that you hear comes from people trying to sell you something. But Paul steps outside of the sales process process and looks at it from an academic point of view. He's going to pull in historical data and break it down in simple terms with simple charts and simple graphs that I can understand. And if I can understand it, you can understand it. Register now for the new webinar at paulwinkler.com/election. It will be live February 23rd at 12. But if you can't make it then, register anyway. They'll send you a link for the replay. Of course, I tell you that I'm paid every time this ad airs. As a client of Paul's, he's who I turn to for information on all of this stuff. So go and register today at the workshop, paulwinkler.com/election, paulwinkler.com/election. Hello, folks. Matt Murphy here for Safe House. Let's talk about your safety. Your personal safety often involves your Second Amendment rights. You know what I'm talking about, making sure that those things that you value in your life are safe and secure. Your family, first and foremost, your property, secondarily. How are you doing that? And if you're not doing it with a safe from Nashville Safe House, may I humbly suggest you're doing it wrong, because Nashville Safe House is going to protect those things that protect your family, plus your valuables, your important paperwork, the things that you need to protect, not just from theft, but also from fire, can be protected by a safe from Nashville Safe House. Whether it's a gun safe or one of their incredible jewelry safes, corporate safes, they got them all at Nashville Safe House. They have vault doors as well if you're looking for that size of thing. But they have a safe for everyone. I mention the selection quite often. It is unmatched in any safe establishment that I've ever been in. You know, if you're used to going into the place where there's 3 safes dusty in a corner, you need to go to Nashville Safe House and see the real deal, folks. And they've been the real deal for over 30 years, and they're here for a long time to come. Contact Mark in the Safe House and see what he can do for you. They're right on 4th Avenue South. Go to NashvilleSafeHouse.com. That's NashvilleSafeHouse.com. Super Talk 99.7 WTN. A lot of reaction to our expose. This is probably the first you're hearing about it, but it will not be the last. There is now an official movement in an effort to remove racing from the charter of the Nashville Fairgrounds and the Nashville Fairgrounds Speedway, meaning this is the first step in an attempt to amend the charter that was voted on some 12 years ago. Remember when like 71% of Nashville said, yeah, we still want racing in this city? Of course we do. Remember when that happened? Well, now there is a movement before the metro government of Nashville and Davidson County by 2 individuals. I've never met these individuals. I don't know who they are from Adams House Cat, but I know I have several sources that have told me that they are acting as agents of John Ingram. John Ingram is the owner of Nashville Soccer Club. John Ingram owns Geodis Park. He utilized a lot of government concessions in order to build that park. And I understand he spent a lot of money over there too. But one of the ways that he got it done, it's my understanding, this is before I got here, but I've talked to enough people that have been here that have told me, and you guys are Elephantine. You remember all of this, right? He said, oh, no. We don't want that property. We want racing to continue. Oh, no, we love racing on the Fairgrounds Speedway. We just want our little part of this, and we're going to add to the overall condition of the campus. And now you have Bristol Motor Speedway that wants to come in. And they want to revamp the Speedway. They want to rebuild the Speedway, modernize the Speedway, using not a dime of taxpayer dollars to do it. And they want to lease the Speedway, and they're also going to bring new events to our community to include, every other year or so, a NASCAR race to Nashville, Tennessee. Now, I understand we have one in Lebanon, but this is different. This is short track racing right here in the heart of the city. It would mean a lot. And it would be another layer of activity in our community and another part of the culture of the city of Nashville. If you tear this place down, you're never getting it back. You're going to put, what are you going to put? Condos on there? It's apparently what they want to put on there. The letter that I'm looking at right here, dated January 31st of 2024, says that the undersigned, Kenneth Bird of Douglas Avenue, Nashville, Tennessee, and Heidi Basgall of Neal Terrace, Nashville, Tennessee, are requesting an amendment to the charter by petition. Specifically, they want to seek to amend the charter relative to the function and duty of the Metro Board of Fair Commissioners. Specifically, to add affordable housing and remove auto racing from the list of required activities at Nashville Fairgrounds. The proposed amendment would revise the first sentence to remove auto racing as an activity required to be conducted at the fairgrounds and replace it with the term affordable housing. Further, the proposed amendment would correct grammatical errors and remove the outdated reference to December 31st of 2010. The proposed amendment would delete the first sentence of Section 11.602D and replace it with the following sentence. Conduct activities on the premises of the Tennessee State Fairgrounds, including but not limited to the Tennessee State Fair, Expo Center events, flea markets, and affordable housing. Where are our Metro councilors on this? Where are our community leaders on this? Where is Freddie O'Connell on this? Are they going to be bought and paid for by John Ingram? Or are they going to listen to the clear concerns and desires of the citizens of this community last time this issue was voted on?
Does affordable housing have a definition, or is that just what they want it to be?
I don't know if they're going to try to offer a definition, but no definition was offered in this one-sheeter.
Okay.
Because I would love to hear that too. I mean, because Bell's thinking, well, I mean, if it's really affordable housing, I could go for that. I mean.
Well, it's just when they say affordable housing and it has no definition, does that mean you can afford it if you make $3,000 a month? Or, what does that mean?
It doesn't mean anything, except that it's a buzzword that they believe the people of the community in which they're seeking support will agree with. That's what it means to me. It's just it's a catch-all. Let's see what Floyd has to say about it. Hey, Floyd, how are you?
I'm going good, Matt. And yourself?
I'm well. Thank you.
Hey, I've always wondered, why is the Nashville Fairgrounds Speedway not on the historical register? Because that speedway dates back into the 1800s when it was horse racing. And what steps could be taken to put that on the historical register to protect it from these further attempts? And if they're going to build affordable housing, who's the beneficiary of the profits of that housing? I mean, it just, I'm a huge race fan, always have been. Love hometown racing. That would even be a good place for NASCAR to bring the Clash every now and then. But how can we get it protected under the historical register?
It's a good question that merits a little bit of research on my part, but I will commit to you to do said research, and I'll get back to you, Floyd. But I think, more broadly, the citizens of our community, and this is before I got here, as you know, Floyd, I think they felt like they answered the question, 12 or so years ago when they spoke loudly and clearly and definitively about auto racing at the fairgrounds. And I believe it was 71% of the voters who voted in that referendum said that they wanted to continue it. And I believe that maybe they feel like this issue was put to bed then. But there are entities, primarily John Ingram and his soccer people, that want to destroy that racetrack. And here's the sad thing. it's not as if they're competing for the same dollars, soccer to racing. What they're competing for are the concerts and some of the other events that would happen at a venue that would be beside John Ingram's big Geodis Park that he doesn't want. He doesn't want the competition, is what it is.
I understand all that, and I also, I was able to vote on the last referendum, but I'm not in Davidson County anymore. But I'd like to see if there's certain things that those of us that do appreciate hometown racing to protect that speedway.
Well, I absolutely love it myself, Floyd. Thank you for the call. I have met so many people, so many of you that have enjoyed for so many years the good wholesomeness that is involved in a racing weekend at the fairgrounds. Sadly, as I went out and I experienced the racing at the fairgrounds and I talked to the many individuals that were involved in that racing, they recognize the degradation of that facility. They understand that it's still great racing. It's still a great track. But unless we offer improvements to that track in the form of this Bristol Motor Speedway renovation plan, that racing will cease to exist in a few years, even if the John Ingrams of the world don't get their way. It will cease to exist because, sadly, it will not be economically feasible anymore. But if you revitalize that racetrack and you infuse the amount of money that Bristol Motor Speedway has agreed to infuse in it, $100 and some odd $1 million of money offered by Bristol for the benefit of having the lease over the next 30 years and controlling the track over the next 30 years. And they'll recoup their money back over the next 30 years or so. So they're in it for a profit too. Don't get me wrong. They want to bring NASCAR racing back to this community, but they also want to keep the local racing that currently exists there. That is racing that will not continue one way or the other. Whether John Ingram gets his way or not, sadly, if we don't get a mayor and a city council behind this proposal, which should be a no-brainer, an absolute no-brainer. This is Bristol saying, we'll pony up the money, we'll refurbish it. You just give us the lease for 30 years. You allow us to have the lease. And there's a lot of parameters involved in that. They're going to improve the soundproofing out there. I've been to all of these meetings. I've seen the proposal. The Fair Board approved it. It went before the council, but they said, oh, it was too late. It was too late because there were entities out there that prevented an earlier vote and an earlier public meeting. Oh, what's his name? He's not on the city council anymore, but he was. Oh, I forget his name. I've intentionally blocked it from my head.
Is this the guy that you said was slow walking the?
Yes, he was with District 17. Somebody will remember and will hit me up on the super text line. The Metro Council. I'll get his name in a second. But he slow walked the public hearing so that he could claim that they don't have enough time before the election of the Metro Council in Sludge. Isn't that his name? Yeah, Sledge or Sludge. I'm going to call him Sludge until someone
You want it to be Sludge.
I want it to be Sludge, so I'm going to call him Sludge before someone corrects me. He slow-walked it, and apparently he's buddy-buddy with John Ingram, who he helped facilitate the building of that beautiful facility. I have nothing against soccer in that area. I have nothing against that facility. I have nothing against John Ingram necessarily, except what John Ingram has against this community and against the racetrack. I think both of those things can live together peacefully side by side and compete for other events. John Ingram doesn't want the free market competition. He wants a monopoly in that part of the world with quote-unquote affordable housing that I would guarantee will be built by whom? Controlled by whom? Operated by whom? Run by whom? Owned by whom? I think you know the answer to that. It's 2:48 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Stand by. Winding down our portion of the broadcast day, handing off to the drive with Brian Wilson mere moments from now, right after Mac Murray's newscast. And I have to spend a moment before I leave, however. I want to share some audio with you that has a little something to do with Mr. Wilson because, you know, there have been some, I don't know if you've heard these, Brian. There have been some awful accusations about your age and your memory. And I'm proud to note that there are some good people that have come to your defense. This is from earlier today. Democrat Senator Chuck Schumer defending Brian Wilson's memory. Listen.
His mental acuity is great. It's fine. It's as good as it's been over the years. I've been speaking to him for 30 years since we worked on the Brady bill and the assault weapons ban when I was a
I didn't know Brian was a part of that, but yeah.
He's fine. All this right-wing propaganda that his mental acuity has declined is wrong.
There you go. There's Chuck Schumer defending Brian Wade. I think that was
mix
nice.
up one name. All right.
What's going on, Brian? How are you, man?
Oh, I'm doing fine. You know, I've been looking at we've got a lot of little stories out there burbling along and trying to decide what the big story of the day is. I think it's going to be a bad week for Biden.
Yeah,
because of all of the stuff that's going on behind closed doors with the investigation into Biden Incorporated, and then I think it's going to be an important week for Donald Trump because all of these major trials hit major inflection points this week as well. And you know, how's that all going to shake out? I'm going to spend some time talking about that today, and we're going to do something else different today. We're going to do something new, something called Special Focus, where we're going to take one story that I think probably nobody really noticed and sort of focus on it, and then we'll put it also on yourfarm.com so people can read it themselves and make their own judgment. Today's topic is voter integrity and mail-in ballots.
I love it. I absolutely love that comment. Did you hear any of the president's comments earlier today? I mean, he desperately wants to shift focus, I think, away. You know, there was the Bobolinsky testimony earlier that we've not talked about, and I'm sure you'll get into that during the drive. But yes. I think the president wants to try to reset the focus of mainstream media attention on his efforts for this bill to get past the House of Representatives. I don't feel like, Speaker Johnson and the Republicans in the House are of no inclination to hand a gift to the Biden administration right now to the tune of $95+ billion.
Now, the question is, can Democrats get a few Republicans to cross over and then force something known as a discharge petition, which would force a vote on the floor of the House? You know, there are some Republicans who want to support Ukraine funding. In the House, there aren't many of them, and not many of them that are willing to buck the speaker. But if the Democrats are in unanimous support of it and they can find enough votes, they can probably force a vote. And who knows what happens there, because the margins in the House are just so tight.
I think if they got a vote, they would get enough Republicans to convert. What do you think?
I think
Tough.
It might squeak through.
Yeah. Well, we shall see. I know that from our neck of the woods here in the state of Tennessee, the people of Tennessee are not about spending money that we don't currently have, especially considering that we're getting no concessions on the southern border. We actually got less than nothing with regard to this bill that was passed. Well, we look forward to the commentary by you, Mr. Wilson, and the drive throughout the course of the afternoon. That is coming up in mere seconds right after Mac Murray's newscast, which is coming up right after this on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. I've had a ball, folks. I enjoy you, and I thank you for spending some time with us from noon until 3. Spend some time with Brian Wilson in the drive from 3 until 7 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. And, oh, by the way, don't forget, I failed to mention it today, March the 5th, Super Tuesday. Be with us at Nashville Palace. Free event, broadcasting live all afternoon long. Come join myself, Dan, Chris, and Brian Wilson. We'll be there on March the 5th. Sign up at 997WTN.com. See you tomorrow, folks. So long.